Throughout my years on this planet, I've always had a certain affection for the horror genre, and thus, very few horror movies have ever actually managed to rattle me. Sinister had the chance to do just that, as it features the one other thing in this world that scares me, aside from heights and spiders. Kids. In this movie, though, these kids are dead, murderous, ghoulish apparitions, and not the actual scary kind that, need parents. In the film, Ethan Hawke, who's taking on his first role in a horror movie ever, plays a writer of true crime novels that moves his family into a new home so he can do some research, which is code for the family that lived here before us was hung from a tree in the backyard. Early on in the film, Hawke stumbles upon a box in the attic that just so happens to contain a projector and several reels of film, each containing footage of the murders of not only the family that previously occupied his home, but several other unsolved cases nationwide. Following horror cliches to a T, Hawke eventually enlists the help of a local deputy at a sheriff's station to help him get information on these cases, and one by one, he begins connecting the dots. Soon, however, he begins to uncover secrets about his own home that he regrets, as they end up putting himself and his family in imminent danger. Hawke is solid as usual as a weary writer struggling to once again achieve the success he once had, and he manages to stay on your good side despite being written as one of the dumbest movie characters of all time. The directing is sound as well, relying heavily on the film's dark setting and depressing topic to establish a very moody atmosphere. The film's real downside is the writing itself, as it often shoots itself in the foot by going for a cheap jump scare or just having characters do things that make you understand what it means to face palm. A number of times, the crowd I saw the movie with grew audibly restless with groans of things like, "Really? And he's not that dumb, right?" That said, though, despite its annoyances, the film does do a decent job at delivering scares when it counts. But one has to think the main reason this film was greenlit is because the conclusion screams for the possibility of a new franchise. Something I'm sure Hollywood execs are thrilled about. 3 out of 5. If you're looking for something to watch this Halloween, I'd like to recommend the self-titled horror flick that spawned the modern-day slasher, John Carpenter's classic, Halloween. It tells the tale of Michael Myers, who begins life as a seemingly ordinary little boy in Haddonfield, Illinois, but as we soon find out, he's anything but. He ends up murdering his older sister and, as a result, is locked away in an institution across the state. 15 years later, on October 30th, he breaks out and heads back home. Then, on Halloween night, unleashes a killing spree that will traumatize the small town forever. What makes the film so effective is its simplicity. There's virtually no gore, no elaborate effects, and no gimmicks to the story. With a budget of just $320,000, which even by 1978 standards was quite small, John Carpenter had to make the most of what he had. He wrote, directed, and did the music for the movie, and despite taking place on Halloween, the film was shot over just 21 days in the spring, and the leaves you see flying across the screen in any scene were actually fake and being blown around by a fan. The infamous mask Michael Myers wears was a stripped-down and repainted Captain Kirk's Star Trek mask, and $20,000 of the film's budget went to this guy, Donald Pleasance, who plays the worrisome Dr. Samuel Loomis. The film's real star, Jamie Lee Curtis, was still an unknown, and this would be her first film. Despite all these things, though, Carpenter managed to craft a very memorable film using the most basic of tactics. The film's opening scene was entirely done in a couple of choreographed takes and makes clever use of a Steadicam. In addition, it introduces the audience to one of the techniques that makes it so personal, letting you see through Michael Myers' eyes. Many times, though, it's what you don't see that makes the film so effective, and the timing and editing used throughout the rest of the film, which make the killer seem like this shape that can be there one moment and gone the next, really becomes unsettling. This all comes together in the end for a climax that will make the hair stand up on the back of your neck and will stay with you for a long time to come. It's also good because it'll help remind you to lock your car.